Hi everyone, Happy New Year! Is it too late to say that? I don't know. Sorry for being MIA. I've had a lot going on. But anyway, hi, I'm Chanel. Great start off with an apology, Chanel. Great. I'm a knitter, spinner, and designer working in New Jersey, close to New York. Yes, I'm a recent college grad, so things are just super is unpredictable in my life. Anyway, this is episode 32 of the Piper Nell podcast, and it's going to be a quick update of a few of my projects going on. Because it's been such a long time since my last episode, I tried to edit my content so that it would be a more compact, I guess, mini story about what I've been working on. So, social media. You can find me as Piper Nell almost everywhere. I'm Piper Nell, Pipernell, no space, on Instagram. And with the space, you can find me as Piper Nell on Facebook. Where else? Patreon. Yes, you can find me on Patreon and get cool bonus content if you pledge a monthly donation to me. And I think that's it. Oh, and Ravelry, duh. Oh my god, it's been forever. I am so out of practice. So today for you, I have news, a few knitting projects. I want to talk a bit about my hashtag 2018 Make 9, which everyone's doing and I'm finding very motivating for my personal goals for this year. And then a quick life update. I'm not going to go into too much detail because there's a lot going on, but thought I'd update you on at least why I've been gone for so long. So let's get right into it. News. Over the holidays, actually on New Year's Day, I released a free sock pattern. They're called If Then, and they are meant for self-striping yarn. So it's called If Then because if there's a color change in your yarn, then you do something. And it is a free Ravelry download, and I'm so grateful to everyone who's downloaded it so far. Almost 500 people have downloaded it, and it's awesome. So if you are interested in a free sock pattern, I thought I'd put one out there. I was honestly too lazy to test knit it and put it through all of that and put it through and just, worry about the administration for that. So I had a few people take a quick look at it, edit it for clarity, and then I just stuck it up on Ravelry. And I mean, I think it's pretty well written. At this point, I'm pretty confident in my sock pattern writing, and I thought I'd give people a taste of my pattern writing. So yeah, go check out the pattern, download it especially if you have some sock knitting planned for this year. And yeah, and then I have another pattern that is coming up. It's called Helicase, and some of you may know it as my DNA scarf. I'm getting that tech edited, and it is almost ready for publishing, so you can see that soon. I don't have a sample anymore to show you because that was a commission piece and has been sent to the recipient, and it is keeping them warm in this cold snap. So I hope you enjoy. And that's it for news, so that moves me on to knitting. So, like I said, this is only kind of a selection of my projects going on. I have way too many projects going on. ADHD is in full blast. And let's start off with the Montclair Flare Montclair Flare shawl. And there's currently a cal going on with the store Yarnia, which is in Montclair, New Jersey, which is the town I work in. And I am finishing my sample for the knit along just in time for the second round of the knit along to begin in February. So again, this is the Montclair Flare shawl pattern by me. It was designed especially for the shop Yarnia as they were opening. And before they opened, they had a Kickstarter campaign that to raise some startup capital for their store. And as part of their Kickstarter campaign, they offered a shawl kit with the pattern, which I designed, and some custom dyed yarn from Ancient Arts. So this first round of the cowl was open to the Kickstarter backers, and in February we're going to open up a second cowl that's open to the general public, and the pattern will be available on Ravelry. It is a 3-color shawl, though I have seen a version where the border, this green and gray border, is just one color, and that also looks really nice. And you can pick your own colors for it. And there will be a couple of the kits left over for purchase, but mostly it will be people bringing their own yarn. Feel free to stash dive for your shawl, but I will be posting about that too. So more about the shawl. It starts with a center out crescent section. So like a normal crescent shawl, you cast on with a garter tab, and there is some texture in this panel. And then at the end of the section, instead of binding off, you cast on some stitches using a short tail cast on, like the cable cast on or the knitted on cast on, and you start working a deep knitted on border. So for those of you who have done a knitted on border, this will be a lot deeper than your normal border. For those of you who have not, I do walk you through the steps for casting on and joining as you go and everything. So this is my sample with the kit colors. Again, the yarn was from Ancient Arts, and it's in their Socknado space, which is 80/20 superwash merino and nylon, and it's definitely on the heavier side of fingering weight. It's 385 yards to 100 grams, which is almost sport weight. Like when I was knitting the prototype for it, and you might want to go back to some previous episodes and get more details about that, I was using test colors, not the actual custom dyed colors. And I was able to substitute Madeline Tosh Pashmina, which is a sport weight, and it's like 360 yards to 100 grams for the gray in the prototype. So it for those of you who want to maybe knit socks with this yarn, I wonder if you have to change your stitch count to accommodate for the heavier weight of the yarn. I don't know. I will definitely have plenty of leftovers, so I'll probably make a sock out of the leftovers. Excuse me, snot. And that's all I have to say about the Montclair Flare. Well, I guess now I've gone over the sections and everything. So, yeah, that's it. I don't want to talk too much about a pattern that I've already shown a lot on the podcast. So the next, I guess, notable project that I have is something that I've meant to start for a while, and I've had materials for a while, but like I said, there's just been a lot going on. I am working, it's been working in a yarn shop, and working more in fiber has been, I've had to learn how to balance personal projects and business projects and find the motivation separately for those kinds of projects. I don't know, I'm still forming my thoughts on that. Anyway, this is a commission, and it's only a small piece right now, but this will be a wall tapestry, and I was able to keep the material cost down, even though it's a fairly large piece, because I was able to dig up leftovers from various past projects. Some of you might recognize I made a pair of socks with this navy sparkle fingering weight yarn, and this is some stash bulky yarn I had. This is, I think that's the yarn from my Pizak shawl. And anyway, so I was able to find leftovers in a palette of blue to teals, and I am going to make a 3-panel wall hanging. So I started with a garter tab and cast on as for a triangular shawl. But when the panel got wide enough, then instead of increasing at the sides, I started decreasing. And in some rows, I am using dropped stitches to create super long stitches, and that is in preparation for after I've bound off the panels and blocked them to their full size and the specified dimensions. I'll be taking some roving, and I have some bare roving for white accents, and also this kind of mottled space-dyed blue-green roving for to coordinate with the colors, and they will be woven into the dropped stitch rows. So I'll see how that works out. But it's been a fun project so far, and it's nice to be designing something without any pressure to write a pattern. Honestly, like the way I've been approaching this project has been too loose for me to even call this a pattern. Maybe a recipe, but I'm probably not going to write this up because someone who is familiar enough with shawl technique should be able to figure it out. And not everything has to be a design for me. I can have fun creating my own thing and not feel pressure to monetize it, I guess. That's something I'm struggling with. But yeah, that's my wall tapestry. Not my wall tapestry, a wall tapestry. And this is panel 1 of 3. So this is going to be the middle one. And there are going to be 2 more panels which will be identical off to the sides. So the next few projects give this episode its name, Totally Tubular, because one technique I've been playing a lot with is the tubular cast on. And it started off with a customer coming into the store and needing some help with a tubular bind off. And so we walked through the tubular bind off, and I just realized how nice of a finish it is and how nice of an edge it gives to ribbing. And I actually really like knitting ribbing. I know that's kind of unusual, but just the way my style worked out, switching between knits and purls is really fast for me. And it's more engaging than just plain knitting for me, but also it's still mindless. So I've just been having a lot of fun with tubular cast-ons. I haven't done anything with a tubular bind-off since helping that customer with her project, but I've just been playing around with that finish. So I have a 1x1 ribbed hat. I know it sounds super, super exciting on the go. Well, this yarn is really exciting because I was sent it for Christmas from my best friend, and she had gone to Peru and saw this yarn. It is from a center for traditional textiles in Cusco, and they're dedicated to preserving the indigenous crafts and fiber traditions of the Andes, which is super cool. And the yarn says it's hand spun by grandmothers. Isn't that adorable? So it is, I have the spinner's name in here. I'm pretty sure this is alpaca, and the weight is given in 122 pesos, so I'm not really sure. I also chose a project where I wouldn't have to worry about the yardage too much, so I can just knit until I run out, or knit until the object's completed, whichever one comes first. But yeah, I used a tubular cast on for the ribbing, and look how nice of an edge it is. And you just have the 1x1 ribs. You just have the ribbing rise out of nowhere. So the way I've been experimenting with doing it is actually, so some tubular cast-ons use the Italian cast-on method, which is where you start with one needle and you have 2 ends of yarn and you're kind of looping them in a certain order. So what I realized is that if you replace that 1 needle with 2 and you do Judy's Magic Cast-On, that actually gets you the same effect. So that's how I've been doing the tubular cast-on. I cast on all of my stitches onto 2 needles with Judy's Magic Cast-On. So that means that the stitches are divided in half between two needles. So like if this one was 100 and this is 120 stitches, so there were 60 stitches on each needle. And then I take a third needle, which is the 16-inch circular that I'm currently knitting on. I used a longer needle in the same size to do Judy's Magic Cast On. So with this third needle, I knit into one stitch from the front needle, and then I purl into the stitch on the back needle. I'm not doing the foundation rows that a tubular cast on normally calls for, and I think I've gotten a very nice finish just from that, so why give myself the extra work? And you do have to do a bit of fiddling with navigating the third needle in between the two needles, but I think it is a much more painless way of doing the tubular cast on. So I'll keep playing with it. If it turns out really well and if I find any more tricks, I will try to record a tutorial for it. But that's all I've been doing. I did make another hat with the same techniques, tubular cast on, 1x1 ribbing, and then the crown decreases. So I finished it. It is not with me anymore. I gave it to my boyfriend, but I'll be trying to use the same crown decrease method on this hat and see if I can determine some general recipe that is independent of stitch count. Because I really like the look of that the crown decreases that I used. So that is a hat. The second hat is also a variant on a ribbed hat using a tubular cast on, but it uses brioche. Yes, I finally picked a brioche, and it is really, really fun. Why didn't I do this earlier? I don't know. So this is the second two-color brioche hat that I've made. My first one I was working on when I was visiting my parents for Christmas and New Year's. And honestly, I can't find it anymore. Typical me. I already lost a finished object. I always lose hats. So I've never lost a bigger item like a shawl because I would probably cry. Or socks. Socks are pretty hard to lose because they stay in your shoes. But I don't know. Hats just, I lose them because I stick them in a pocket and then forget about them. Or they might fall off my head when I'm, like, taking off my hood. And then I don't notice that it drops or something. So I can't find it. But anyway, that one didn't turn out super well. I wasn't happy with the finish of it. So hopefully someone picked it up and it's keeping them warm. But this hat is turning out much better. I, one, like the color blocking. And two, I hope to get I'm getting a second shot at the crown decreases. So the thing about this hat is that I start off with a two-color tubular cast on or two-color Italian cast on using the same method. I use Judy's Magic Cast On in two colors. That means that you have to kind of tie both yarns onto the needle and then cast on stitches on one needle using one color, and then the other color goes on the other needle, which is still fine. You get into a rhythm of alternating colors and alternating needles. And then that third needle, the setup is different because it's not 1x1 ribbing. With the third needle, if you recall in the previous hat, you would knit from the front needle, purl from the back needle, knit from the front needle, purl from the back needle. I'm not explaining this very well because I don't have it in my hands. But this isn't meant as a tutorial. I'm just kind of spouting and evangelizing. Okay, so with a brioche, you do have to work with brioche, two-color brioche in the tubular cast on, you do have to work two setup rows. So with your stitches on the front and the back needle in one color, your color A should be on the front needle. So you knit into a front stitch and then slip with yarn over on the back needle. And then that's your first, so you use your first working yarn, color A, to go across once, and then you're on a circular needle, so you have to slide everything back, pick up color B, and then slip with yarn over on the first stitch, and then purl into, and then you can brioche purl into the second stitch and alternate between those two. That one is a lot more confusing. If I work out this method, I will definitely try to record a tutorial. But yeah, that's stuff I've been exploring. Tubular Cast On 2-color brioche. This yarn, if you're curious, is leftovers from a bunch of past projects. So the black, the inside color, is Knit Pick City Tweed. They're DK, so the lightweight version of it, because they also have an air weight version of the yarn in, I think it's Obsidian, or I'm not sure. It's a grayish black. And then the browns on the outside are Knit One, Crochet Two. They're I think it's creme brulee. It's a DK weight merino, superwash merino wool. So I'm not going to have enough of the Knit One, Crochet Two to finish the hat. So I'm actually bringing in a third yarn to keep to stay on the color A side, and that's Knit Pick Swish, which is also 100% superwash merino and a DK weight. So it's a pretty good match. They're pretty comparable in yardage and weight. So that's going to be good. The thing about brioche that I find is it's pretty flexible in the weights, in the weight of yarn that you use. You can use 2 different weights of yarn to get a totally cool effect. But then when you switch out like color A for a yarn of a slightly different weight, it doesn't affect your gauge very much, or at least it doesn't affect mine. So that's been fun. And I'm looking forward to doing more brioche. And that's all I have for my knitting projects. I wanted to talk quickly about my 2018 Make 9 resolution. So this is a hashtag that's been going around Instagram. And it's pretty active in both the knitting and sewing communities, which I really enjoy flipping through. I'm not a sewist at all. I don't have the equipment to sew, but I do knit, crochet, and spin. And so all of those crafts made it onto my Make 9 collage. So if you want to see my full collage, that's on my Instagram, Piper Nell. And I'm really happy with my choices. So the first, I'm just going to talk about the first project that I want to get a head start on. But some of I didn't put specific patterns for all of them. Some of them, I separated it by project, and not every project I have a pattern picked out for, but I have the general concept of. So I want to do a 2-color brioche shawl. I'm still not super set on the pattern, but it's probably going to be an Excuse Me by Stephen West. But then I have a pie shawl on my to-do list, and I haven't decided on a specific pattern. I just chose a pretty picture for it and put it in and credited the designer, but didn't commit to, nothing on the Make 9 is a commitment per se, but I just put it on there. So I had kind of a placeholder to represent that concept. So the first project that I want to tackle on my Make 9 is going to be a colorwork sweater. So I've had the yarn in my stash for a while. For the main color is going to be this, which is Blue Moon Fiber Arts Woobu, which is wool and bamboo. And I actually got it from D-Stash from Rachel of Treehouse Knits. And I have the most of this color, and it's definitely enough for a sweater for me. And then my 2 contrast colors are these 2 skeins of Northlight Fibers of Water Street, which is a 40% cashmere, 60% merino, so this was a super treat for me. And I got it at their trunk show at Yarnia back in November. So these 3 colors will be a colorwork sweater, and I gave up on looking for a particular pattern. I am now researching the math that goes into a colorwork sweater. I've mostly read up on that and feel pretty confident. And I'm going to be working out the stitch counts and the increases to do a top-down circular yoke colorwork sweater. And I will I'll find a stitch dictionary or something to find colorwork patterns or design my own and really make this sweater one of a kind for me. And that's the thing about the 2018 Make 9 for me. All of those projects are going to be for me. It's all my selfish knitting because I have been Well, actually, yeah, let's transition into life updates. So yeah, I have been working a lot at Yarnia, which is the yarn store in Montclair, New Jersey. They opened up back in September, and I've been working there part-time as an associate and also an instructor. And it's been really cool getting to be involved with a new company and really build up a small business and see it from its inception. So it's been kind of a wild ride. Have spending so much of my time surrounded by yarn and kind of helping other people with their projects that it's hard to allocate time for myself and my personal projects, because so many of my projects turn into, even when I'm messing around with yarn, so many turn into a design that I then feel pressured to write up and publish and monetize. It's been a balancing act. I'm not sure I am really cut out for a creative career right now. I am still applying for grad school. I think I mentioned that in the previous episode. And this is kind of what I'm throwing myself into to distract myself as I wait on decisions. I am applying for PhD programs in a combination of physics, environmental policy, and education. So it will be that will be kind of, I'm looking forward to that kind of being my full-time thing, and knitting going back to kind of being a hobby slash a kind of passion project that I can invest time of my own choosing into. But yeah, it's been really fun. I would say this is probably the most fun I've had at work in ever. And for me, it's really interesting. I like working in a small company because the roles are very fluid, so I end up picking up a lot of skills or getting involved in different tasks and learning a lot. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that. I am still teaching kind of freelance, so 2 weekends ago, I gave a workshop at Knit Tapestry, and it did my 2 at a time socks. So that's becoming my signature class. And I'm working, now that I've picked up 2-color brioche, I think once I am more comfortable with the technique and I've explored some of the more advanced variations on it, I'll be comfortable teaching a workshop on it. So yeah, if you're in the North Jersey area and you're watching this and you're affiliated with the yarn store and you want me to teach, why don't you, put me in one of the shop owners' ears? I don't know. Okay, so that's really all I have. I am, again, terribly sorry for the long time away. That was probably the longest break I've ever taken from podcasting. I didn't even take that long of a break when I was in college and super overwhelmed with works. I don't know. I kind of lost my mojo for a bit, I guess. But I will podcast more often from now on. So this was a quick episode, but thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Again, you can find me as Piper Nell, Pipernell, all over the internets. And thanks for watching episode 32, totally tubular, of the Piper Nell podcast. All right, I'll see you again soon. Bye.